Hi, I'm Jen Spencer, and this is Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club. Hi, readers. Welcome to Jen Spencer's 10-Minute Book Club. We have a really fun author for you today. Her name is Morgan J. Muir, and she writes fantasy, paranormal, historical with vampires and different things, but they're all sweet and very romantic. The series that she is going to be giving away today in ebook is called Daughter of Zionia. It's a 4-book series, historical, fantasy, paranormal, I would say is where it fits. And the cover is just gorgeous, as you can see. If you ask a question or leave a comment in the comment section below, you'll be automatically entered to win. You'll also be entered to win a copy of my book, Dandelion Meadows, which is a delightful, small town, sweet romantic comedy that you do not want to miss. If you want a free copy of my latest historical Western, please go to jenspencerauthor.com and sign up for my email newsletter. You're going to love this one too. So now I'm so excited to introduce to you Morgan J. Muir. Welcome, Morgan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I am so excited to have you. Morgan is like the first fantasy kind of paranormal kind of author I've interviewed. So I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. So tell us first how you got into writing, maybe just a little bit about yourself, and then maybe your writing journey and what's going on in your life.
I've always written stuff. I loved writing. I just remember being little, playing with my toys and stuff, and it was always stories with my toys. And I remember one day I stopped. I wasn't playing with my toys. I was just telling myself the story, and I'm like, I should write this down, and it's just gone from there, really. Yeah, so at this point I'm a work from home mom, very much an introvert, really working hard on my crazy cat lady vibe. I've got 4 cats, as well as a Sheltie,
Okay.
4 cats, and a Sheltie who thinks she's a cat. Pretty funny. But I love to play hockey and ride motorcycles, do martial arts, and I like all things horses and reading, and mostly fantasy stuff. I like to read Brandon Sanderson and Kristen Britton are my favorites.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I've only read one, Brandon Sanderson, but I adored it, and I want to get back to that. But I read Mistborn, and
Yeah.
I read it over Christmas break, probably 5 years ago, and I could not put it down. I mean, literally. So I didn't sleep. I was just, so I thought, I can't do that again until I have several days, free days where I could just do it. But my daughter and one of my sons-in-law are just obsessed with Brandon Sanderson. They read a lot of his stuff. So
yeah, well, and with Mistborn, it's great if you read all 3 books. One of the things I love about Brandon Sanderson's writing is you get to the end, you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, but it's so obvious. And so the end of the 3rd book calls back to a tiny detail just at the very beginning of the 1st book, and you're like, it was there in front of me the whole time. I love Brandon Sanderson's books. They're amazing.
They are. Well, so tell me about your books. So how long have you been published? Are you independently published, traditionally published? What's your road to publication?
Yeah, I am an indie author, so I'm self-published. Actually, when I had my first child and I was about 24, I stopped working to stay home with my kids. And that's really boring. People are like, oh, kids are great, but the fact is infants are super boring because you're home by yourself, and it's a very lonely thing. So one of the things I did was I started writing this series, and my oldest 14 now, so it was a long time ago. And I just worked on it off and on for probably about 10 years. And then I finally sat down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna self-publish this first book. And then once I did, I'm like, so one of the things about me is I have more hobbies than sense. I pick up things all the time and do them until I'm moderately good at them, then move on. But when I published the first book, it was around, I actually want to do this. I want to do this, and I want to do it well. And so at that point, I started taking classes anywhere I could learn from, going to conferences, online stuff, everything. And I realized that I really didn't write it very well. So I pulled it and then rewrote the whole thing.
Oh,
And so the series was supposed to originally be one book. When I first wrote it, it was going to be 2 books, but by the time I learned actually how to write well and rewrote the whole thing, it had become 4 books. So, but
yeah. Well, that's good. You gotta say what you gotta say, and you don't want a 2,000-page book. So, so tell us about the series, and let me look again. Daughter of
Zeania,
Anya.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, so it takes place in Spanish colonial South America, and it's got vampires, Native Americans, magic, prophecies, intrigue, things like that. The first book by itself, so I because I had to split the book so many times, what I am doing is there's a prequel novel and then there's the books 1 through 3, the trilogy.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was because I realized that the first part, the prequel, is just a historical romance. The vampires and everything, the magic doesn't really show up until later.
Until the first
Until book 1.
book 1. Okay. Okay.
So the first one is just a nice typical romance storyline. Young woman falls in love with a handsome foreigner, and it's fun and shenanigans. But then, like I said, there's also the vampires, and the series overall is, in my opinion, first and foremost a love story. But there's a lot of heavy themes and a lot of things that happen. They go through a lot, and it's where the first book is, it's young love, and the first things with that. And the rest of the series is about keeping that love alive and continuing with it, and overcoming the difficulties that happen in life and the way that you change, mistakes that you made, and it's about, so the final book really goes back to the romance thing again, where they are working hard to fall in love with each other again, and it's my favorite book. Sorry, I could go on and on about it.
I love that. I love that second chance romance. Not that it's a second chance, but if you've grown apart, you've grown tired of each other, or if some other circumstances have pulled you apart and bringing you back.
Some other circumstances, definitely.
What that is. Okay. Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite tropes. Just second chance, trying it again. So that's great. So what's kind of the overall, you said it's got vampires, it's got this couple, this love story. What's kind of if you were going to tell us in 4 sentences what this series is about, what would you say? That's kind of hard, I know. So
yeah, so the problem is, if I go into the fun stuff, it's spoilers.
Okay.
So the spoilery version is that, I said, colonial South America, Mariah discovers that she is prophesied to destroy some evil vampires in the area. And as she's coming to terms with this, because who wants to do that? With this reality, she inadvertently sends her lover off into their clutches and now has to rescue him on top of everything else.
Oh, okay. Love it. Okay. Sounds great. So did you do a lot of research for this series?
I did. And so I said, when I first started writing, it was 14 years ago, and the internet wasn't quite as robust as it is now. I mean, Google is great, but it's not as robust. So I did what I could. I said it takes place in colonial South America, Spanish Maracaibo, and it is based very heavily on the Native Americans there, the Wayu. And it's interesting because what I was looking for first was a place where I could have vampires and they could be out in the sun and it wouldn't necessarily be an issue, right? Or not out in the sun, out in the daytime.
Okay.
Because I'm very scientifically minded. I don't like the idea of vampires just burning up. They're not burn up in the sun vampires. They are logical vampires. They make sense logically, scientifically, relatively, because it is still fantasy. So I was looking for a place that could be that. And I'm like, well, I can't do like Forks because that's done with Twilight, and Alaska is too far away. There's nothing, well, I'm sure there's lots of fun things in Alaska. I didn't want to do Alaska. I wanted to do something different. So I looked up someplace that's got a lot of rain and stuff. And I landed on Maracaibo and the Guajara Peninsula there in South America. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's there? So then I found the Wayu and I was doing research on them. And they have these really, really cool legends.
Mm.
And a lot of it was, there was stuff I wanted to do, but it meshed really well with their legends that I was able to find. And so I built the story around the culture that was there in this particular time period in the history of the Wayu fighting against the Spanish invaders over a course of 50 or 60 years. And so it ended up being that the story can't take place in any other time or any other place.
Mm.
It had to happen when and where it does.
Oh, I love that because, there's so many adaptations of fairy tales, kind of that Western tradition.
Mhm.
I love that you found something in this tradition that you could use to base your series on. I think that's really cool. So do you have a favorite romantic movie?
So I had to laugh about this one. Like, first one that comes to mind is Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, but I'm like, that's not really about romance so much. And like I really just watch it for the horses, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like, okay, well, what about Dirty Dancing? I'm like, but I really just watch it for the dancing and the music. So I'm like, I don't know. I guess Shakespeare in Love, maybe.
Oh, I love that one. Oh, because I am a huge Shakespeare fan.
Yeah.
And that's a great one. Oh, Colin Firth.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Shakespeare.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. You're stuck on a desert island. Would you rather have chocolate or toilet paper for the rest of your life?
Well, for that, I'd have to say it depends. Is it a desert island? Is it Arctic? 'Cause if it's Arctic, then you want the toilet paper because you can use it to build fires and you can stay warm and stuff like that. But if you're in like a tropical desert island, you don't need the warmth. Chocolate might be good. So it just depends.
Okay, that's good. That tells me kind of how you think, what you're thinking.
Mhm.
Because I make assumptions like, well, I'm sure it's warm. But why? But why would that be my assumption? So
The other question too would be, are there other people there? If there's other people there, you could use chocolate as bargaining tools.
true.
That's more effective than toilet paper.
You could make friends.
Yeah.
Well, Morgan, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun. Readers, remember, if you comment or ask a question in the comment section below, you'll be automatically entered to win an ebook copy of the series, Daughter of Zion. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll put it up there so you can see the name of it. But it sounds so wonderful. And especially if you like kind of that fantasy, paranormal kind of thing, you're going to love it. So thank you for being my guinea pig on the whole paranormal thing. And
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
So fun. All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks for being here.